Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
Hey, my guest today is Jason Ebbs, who's a singer, songwriter, guitar player. He's in the movie RockCamp, which is streaming now. I would normally have the RockCamp trailer playing for you in its entirety with all the audio and the video, but I can't play the audio because it contains music that apparently is copyrighted, of course, but it's also being played on the platform that I was going to go ahead and repost this thing to. I can't even with these people. Also, Jason's on stage with Michael Anthony. I can't go ahead and post that either, again, because there's music and that is copyrighted. But again, go to YouTube, type in Jason Ebbs, Michael Anthony, and you will see him on stage doing a brilliant job with him. So check out RockCamp, the movie, the trailer first, and then watch the movie. And then also look up Jason Ebbs on YouTube and see all these great videos and hear them. Huh? You can hear them too on YouTube, but not here. Got it? I need a drink. Hey, it's A Drink with Derek, and I am here with the gentleman that you just saw on those videos. He's in the movie RockCamp. He's also he's from the East Coast originally, now living out here in Las Vegas. He is a founder of the bands Ecotonic and Jet Velocity, which can be seen all over the place. Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp instructor, played and toured with members of KISS, worked with Michael Anthony of Van Halen, also Steve Vai, brilliant guitar player. Joe Perry, also one of my favorites of all time from Aerosmith. And I am here with Jason Ebbs, good friend of mine. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Good to see you, Derek. I'm great, man. I'm, doing the COVID shuffle. How are you?
Same thing, man. Just trying to survive, trying to get through all this nonsense. And this has got to be driving you absolutely nuts during this shutdown, because you are one of the busiest people that I know with all these different projects that you have going on. Also, your sound studio that you have there as well, on top of these other bands, on top of being a RockCamp fantasy instructor. But I'm going to ask you 3 random questions that I always ask every guest as we start off. Okay, here we go. All right. 3 random questions. Sexiest female singer, and it can't be your wife. I know you would say her first because you're a smart man.
Yes, of course. Well, and not only that, I'm smart, but she also is the sexiest. Janaea pretty much rocks. Let me see. Sexiest female singer. Terry Nunn was pretty sexy, and I got to play with her, so that was fun too. So I would say Terry
from Berlin.
Either Terry Nunn, Nancy Wilson. See, look at me. I'm a Libra. You're like, ask me for one name. I'm going to give you 5.
Well, you worked with Nancy Wilson in one of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camps, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, Janaea just peeked her head in and said, "What about me?" You didn't hear the first part, baby.
I said, what
she didn't hear the first part. He said you first.
He did.
He said you first. Do not.
And he said other than Janaea. That's my wife right there.
Well, I
see?
didn't hear that part, but I just walked in.
No, she hears everything but what
I hear everything.
Everything.
Is it okay if I say
she could have been. You're in Las Vegas right now. I'm in Las Vegas. She could have been. She could have been in Kodiak Island, Alaska, and she would have heard you.
She would have.
You're right.
She would have.
Because I would have felt it. I would have felt it in the phone.
Hey, you want to come say hi, baby?
No.
I didn't think so.
I'm in my PJs, or I would come.
I'm in my PJs too.
No, you're not.
Even your PJs, Jason, look like a rock star. So,
well,
2 more questions. 2 more questions. You're growing up as a kid. You're watching. You're growing up as a kid, you're watching cartoons, Coyote and Roadrunner. Did you root for the Coyote to catch the Roadrunner, or did you root for the Roadrunner to get away from the Coyote?
Roadrunner to get away.
Okay. And last question, your favorite restaurant in Las Vegas?
Oh, shit. Favorite restaurant in Las Vegas?
You've been out here a while. You got to have a place that you guys like to go hang out at.
I think I would, man, but I'm always gigging. The funny thing is I'm gigging so much that I don't really go out much. Especially right now. Let me see. Favorite restaurant in Las Vegas. I don't know if it's considered a restaurant, but I got to give Vamp a plug because they have some really good food, man. Danny,
nice. I have not been there for food. I've been
there. Oh my God, they have great fish tacos. They've got they got all kinds of good stuff, man. It's just and the chef's really great, and they're cool people there. And Danny always
they are cool people there. Vamped, which is right over there on Sahara?
Yeah, that's correct.
On West Sahara. So not like right down by the strip.
And you know what? And Ram Mancuso. I like Ram Mancuso's place, the Bootlegger. That's another place.
Oh, Bootlegger's awesome.
Yeah, you got it. They're both music related, so imagine that.
Great little hangout. Dude, you are a kid from the East Coast. How did you end up being a musician out here in Las Vegas?
Well, hell, let me see here. Man, I was born in Camden, New Jersey, and I was in foster homes and shelters till I was about 5. Then I got adopted by the Ebsworths, and they moved to we moved to Jersey, then Pittsburgh, then Valley Forge, and then I ended up, it was kind of the MO to go to college. So I went to Penn State, main campus in Altoona, up in the middle of State College, PA. Mm-hmm. And while I was there, I got in a band, of course, and that's when I played in front of. We opened for Joan Jett, Tommy Conlon, the Young Rumblers, and the Hooters. I think they all played the same show, and we won the local competition went to play it. And we played in front of 40,000 people. And I'm like, fuck, this is what I want to do. Somehow I ended up in the Army for a little bit before that. But I decided to leave Penn State and go to music school in Hollywood, California. So I went to Guitar Institute of Technology for a year, which at the time they only had a year program. So that's what we met. So that submerged me in the music scene and in the LA scene. And I was there for many years. That's where I got the gig with Peter Criss and kind of cut my teeth on a lot of stuff. And then I was gigging a lot when I was living in the hills in in LA, and I was in Vegas all the time. So when the time came to move, it made sense to come to Las Vegas. And Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp had just started out here, so it was a logical move.
Well, now I want to ask you about the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp here in just a second. But one thing I do want to ask you is, of all the work that you've done and all the bands that you've heard through the years, in your opinion, who's the most underrated band?
Underrated.
For me, it's Steel Panther.
Oh yeah, Ralph and them. I knew Ralph back when he was in a 7% Solution in LA with Sean McNabb, and let me see here. Most underrated band. The funny thing is, Derek, is I don't really listen to that many new bands because I'm always writing and recording myself. Underrated.
Just someone that you thought should have been more, I don't know, I don't want to say accepted, but should have been on stadium tours, and they just never got to that level.
Okay, let me think here. I'm just trying to think of bands I used to listen to. I would say, let me see, Steel Panther. Okay, so I'm curious as to why Steel Panther. That's what I'm curious.
Steel Panther to me is underrated because as musicians, they're brilliant. And people listen to them and they hear the lyrics, which are hilarious.
They are funny.
People that have not heard Steel Panther, you listen to the lyrics and you go, is that what they just sang? They really just did that in a song? But, they are fantastic, very, very talented musicians. So to me, I think they're underrated from that perspective. I think people listen to them as a novelty, but they don't appreciate them for the band.
Right. You know what? Okay, that could be. So let me think. I don't know. Most of the stuff I listen to has eventually been appreciated. Whether it's Zeppelin or freaking Rush or, all the bands Zeppelin and all the bands we grew up on at some point crossed over and are hopefully in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Right.
I'm sorry. That's such a lame answer, man.
Everybody's got their own. Everybody's got their own take on things. But yeah, bands like Rush.
You know what? It'll come to me later, probably. If I blurt it out, you'll know. Okay.
Perfect. I'll wait for you to randomly say something that makes no sense in the context of our conversation, and I'm going to know that that's the band that you think was underrated.
There you go.
I want to hear about this movie RockCamp. I wanted to interview you on the podcast here, and then it was one of those things where I saw it. I'm like, I got to talk to Jason, and then I saw the trailer for RockCamp, and I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome that you're in this thing. This is so badass. Tell me about this movie. You've been an instructor of the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camps that are here. They happen in Vegas and also in Los Angeles too, correct?
I've done them in LA, Vegas, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, New York, Boston. He does them all over the place. David Fishoff's a genius, man. He came up with this really cool concept. Like people like me that were raised in a family where everybody else went to college and then went on and, did the responsible thing. There's an opportunity cost in whatever you choose in life. I gave up all that and lived on the edge for a long time so I could do rock and roll. They gave up rock and roll and got their law degrees, created companies like Oracle, or they're in charge of getting all the fish out of the Arctic Ocean that goes all over Vegas to all the restaurants. So really, really doctors, lawyers, people like that. So this is the opportunity for us to come together, and we do a 4-day boot camp, a rock and roll boot camp, where we're the rock star counselors, and we get a group of random people in, and we all meet in the room, and they do a little screening so your levels are the same, and it's in a non-competitive environment. They say, you got to win. You're in it.
Sure.
But you have 2 days to get them ready to jam with their first rock star guest, which will either be Joe Perry, Sammy Hagar, Steve Vai, Nancy Wilson. And then it's just this barrage of 4 days of nonstop rock and roll lifestyle. And then at the end, everybody's best friends for life. It's really amazing. It's life-changing.
So it lasts for 4 days altogether, because they do a showcase show. Isn't it like at the Hard Rock or Mandalay Bay or something like that?
Yeah, it depends on where we are. Yeah, out here we did Hard Rock. God rest in peace. The Hard Rock's gone. We did there. We did Mandalay Bay. We've done MGM is where we used to do it too. And yes, so you have 2 days to prepare, and then Saturday and Sunday night you have live performances. Usually Saturday nights with the mega all-star, whether it's Joe Perry or Paul Stanley or someone like that. And then Sunday the bands all go and play again, so they get to play live and to a packed club. Like in LA, we did the Whiskey. It was packed. It was with Cheap Trick, and everybody's hanging out with Cheap Trick. They had the time of their lives.
How many people can sign up for these things? Is it limited? I imagine it would have to be.
Well, relatively. Each band has 4 to 5 people. So the biggest camp I did was out here, I think, and there were 14 counselors, which meant there were 14 times 5. Are you a mathematician? Because I'm not.
I'm going to go with 0 to 70 people.
Yeah, I mean, they'll add counselors as we need to, and rooms and whatever we need to do. So, I do recommend signing up early if you're going to do it, just in case. But usually we'll try to accommodate everybody.
Now, if you absolutely cannot play, are you still eligible to be a part of this? Because I suck. I would love to do this. This would be so badass to do it. And
you probably be in my band, because I've literally had bands where the guitar player had been playing for 2 months, and I'll create a whole new way. I'll open tune their guitars so they can go open 3 5, open 3 6 5, open 3 5 3, open, and they can play Smoke on the Water. You know what I mean?
Right.
So sure. I will come up with a way. Because I'm not an instructor per se. I'm a counselor. So my job, the way I see it, is to get these people ready to have the rock and roll experience that they've really been missing, and to be able to hold their own and play on stage with the legend and have a good time. That's my gig. It's not to teach them how to play guitar. It's to teach them how to play that part well enough to get through it.
Okay.
Depending on level. I've also had, the Beatles camp. I had 5-part harmonies going on, and I was on drums just because everybody else could do everything else. So it was fun,
Now, do you provide, so the final night, do you guys provide like rock star outfits, cocaine, and groupies for these people? Because if you did, you would get a lot more people that would sign up.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, we'd have a lot more problems. It was Saturday night. It was Friday night out here in Vegas, the last one we did in Vegas. The drummer of one of the bands blew off the freaking all-star thing the next day because he had a freaking menage a trois with a couple women and just blew off his band. So his poor band was stuck. So I took the guitar player and put him in my band so we could do the Paul Stanley jam with Paul Stanley, and everybody kind of picked up the pieces. So we don't have that in there.
This was a participant.
This was a participant, and they paid good money. You pay good money for this. He blew it off to have a different kind of rock and roll experience. And all I kept thinking is, man, that is so true to rock and roll, because you know how many bands break up because of chicks?
That is so fun. What's it if somebody's going to go ahead and do this? And I'm sure there's different price levels based on the camp that you go to. For the one out here in Las Vegas, are they doing one here in 2021?
I can't say for sure. I suspect there might be one late, but only if it's safe.
No, exactly. I know it's been crazy.
I have a feeling, don't quote me on this, but I have a feeling the next one's going to be the Scorpions, because that's what we were getting ready to do. And it was great. You know, I'm good friends with Mickey D. It would have been fun.
I love the Scorpions.
Me too. And
what does it cost for somebody to sign up for something like this? I know they can go to the website and find out, but I mean, just a ballpark figure.
No, the ballpark figure, I would guess between $4,000 and $5,000 for the basic package. And then there's different things you can get. There's a groupie package you can get for your wife or your girlfriend or your kids, so they can come and they can have the VIP experience at select times, and have the meals with you and stuff like that. You can also pay an additional, I don't know, maybe $1,000 or so to go into a full-blown recording studio and get mixed by like Eddie Kramer or Bob Kulick, rest in peace, or someone like that, where you actually go into a world-class studio and record, and come out of it with a cool, awesome experience and a professionally recorded song. So, but the introductory, I would say, is between $4,000 and $5,000.
Now, has anybody ever sucked so bad that you just unplugged them?
I wouldn't. I can't say anything about the sound man. It's not my gig. But yeah, I think there's been something where all of a sudden the amp's not working for 5 minutes.
It happens. Believe me, there's plenty of comics that I've worked with through the years that I wish we could have just unplugged them, but totally different ballgame. Now, let's see, how can I put, you toured with some amazing musicians. You've obviously worked with Joe Perry. You toured with Ace Frehley, Peter Criss, and then you also worked with Paul Stanley at the RockCamp. I'm not seeing any Gene Simmons here. And to me, that's like you worked with Larry, Curly, and Shemp. And
I know. Where's Mo?
Where's Mo?
To make matters even not worse, to make matters more, I don't know. To make matters
money.
No, but Shannon was very nice to me in 1996.
Yeah, he was jealous of Jason because Shannon wanted to do him.
Oh God, I didn't say that out loud. No, when I met Shannon, so I was singing for Peter Criss's band. And it was the first time Peter and Ace had gotten together. This is 96, 95, 96, 97. So it was called the Bad Boys of KISS tour. And, we did the first leg of the tour. Then they did that KISS Unplugged where everybody got on stage together. So I knew it was finite at that point. Right. But to make a long story short, when I went to the Weenie Roast where they played their first show, Shannon came up to me, and Shannon's, oh my God, beautiful, sweet, beautiful, cool, tall, and she's like, "Excuse me, have you seen the boys?" And I said, "Oh, hi Shannon, I'm Jason." She goes, "Yeah, I know." So I don't know, maybe I didn't do anything. I swear to God, I didn't even hug her, although I wanted to. But it's funny because half my, I got friends playing with Gene. So it's Gene and Ace are kind of sharing bands right now.
Well, now
so it's Ryan and Matt Starr, and they're going back and forth between the two bands. So hey, call me up, guys. I'm ready.
I mean, could they even use the term "Bad Boys of KISS" without Gene Simmons coming down on them? Because I know he's so insanely protective of the brand. Well,
that's a good question. It managed to work on their behalf because they ended up in KISS again. Right. So at the time, there was all these. That was when all the KISS conventions were going on.
Okay.
All around. So there was a big hype already. They could probably pull it off. We couldn't because after Peter went back with KISS, we had a band called Scoff, and we were playing around LA, and it said featuring members from Peter Criss, KISS, and Gene saw that and stopped that from happening. It was like FM station or somewhere. It wasn't like we were playing.
Right.
But
now what's you're touring with Peter, you're touring with Ace Frehley. What are some of the best KISS stories that they had to share with you? You guys are spending a lot of time together. There had to be some great stuff that they had shared.
Yeah, there's a lot. Well, I got one that happened when we were together. So we were dry. It was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve. I will, babe. You want to be?
No.
So we're driving. It's Christmas Eve or right around. I think it was Christmas Eve because I remember all the lights on the bus were twinkling, and it wasn't from they were actually twinkling. So and we were headed. It was snowstorm like crazy, and we had a bus. For some reason, Ace and his guys, I think they wanted to make more, so they traveled in a van carrying a U-Haul, like trailer.
Right.
And I guess their driver / manager had fallen asleep at the wheel, and they woke up screaming, attached to the back of an 18-wheeler, thinking they were going to die. So obviously their van was totaled. So I remember they all came on the bus. And for the first time, Ace and Peter were on the bus. And, I grew up a KISS fan. So for me, I'm just going, holy shit, this is really cool. I'm getting chills just thinking about it because it was neat. And I was a little kid. I was like 22 years old or something too. So, so that was a lot. So that was one. The other one, there used to be this restaurant, a sushi restaurant where you'd have a remote control boat and you'd send the boat across this water pond to get to the bar and they'd put your sushi in it and they'd send it back. Well, Peter and Ace, they were the fun, mind-altered people in the band. Sure. So they're sitting there. So they're having fun doing this, and all of a sudden, Ace, who I guess had a good buzz at the time, gets up, and he stands up, and he storms into the pond and goes, "I'm Godzilla!" And he starts twirling all the boats with the sushi on it. So I would have liked to be a fly on a wall or sushi on a boat for that. But yeah, some of the other stories I can't really talk about. But
no, I mean that had to be surreal growing up being a KISS fan, and now here you are touring with these guys. Is there any other musician that you met that walked into the room, whatever circumstance, whether it was a rock and roll fantasy camp or it was just you jamming, and all of a sudden this guy comes in the room, or this woman comes in the room, and you went, "I cannot believe I'm standing here on stage with this person"?
Yeah, two of them. First one was Joe Perry, and that was a fantasy camp moment because I brought my band in to jam with Joe Perry. And David Fishoff looks at me like, "Hey, Jason, okay, what's the name of your band?" And I'm like I forgot my name of my band. And the band's like, Execution. So I was like, thank God. So yeah, when I first met Joe Perry, that was intense, man. Once we started jamming, it was great. All of a sudden, he's leaning into me singing Toys in the Attic, which all the fear goes away once the downbeat hits for me. When I walked in audition for Peter, that was intense because I didn't even really think about it. And then all of a sudden, when I walked in the room, I just my stomach. And then we were backstage at AC/DC, and Slade was back in the band because Phil Rudd had kind of messed up, attempted to procure murder and then threatened the witness. So that was a double whammy that was bad.
That's frowned upon.
It's frowned upon in most societies.
Yes.
And so we're sitting there backstage, and all of a sudden, Nicole Kidman and what's his name, guitar player, her husband.
Oh, from
Keith Urban.
Keith Urban comes walking in. They're hanging out. We're talking to them, and we're like, let's get a shot on the red carpet. So we go up against the backdrop. And all of a sudden, Dave Grohl walks in. And we're like, "Hey, Dave, come here, get in the picture." So, yeah, Dave, that was pretty neat. Freaking Nirvana. So, and he's the coolest guy.
What was that like with Joe Perry? I mean, what do people not know about Joe? And
he's quiet. He's actually quiet. What he makes up for, what he lacks in quietness, speaking-wise, he makes up for in guitar volume because he likes to be loud, which is great.
Yes, he does.
He's phenomenal. So yeah, he was more quiet than I would have thought. But when you're in a band with someone as loud as Steven Tyler, there's only room for one at that level. And I'm usually that guy, so this would be the
I love Aerosmith. I love Aerosmith. My girlfriend took me to see him at the Park MGM when they were doing the residency over there. And
nice.
We got great seats, and then we did a pre-show stage tour.
Oh, nice. Did you see the bus?
Was so badass, yes.
That's cool.
So cool. I mean, just a great, phenomenal experience. And what cracked me up, though, is they were doing the backstage meet and greet packages.
Yes.
Where for $1,500, you can meet Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, or for $750, you can meet Joey Kramer, Brad Whitford and Tom Hamilton. I'm like,
and then for $200, you can sit with their roadie.
That was such a douche move.
I know it is.
Let's bring them all together. I mean, I'm just picturing like Steven Tyler and Joe Perry in this room with like steak and lobster and everything. Then you go in the other room, and then there's the other three that are there with a box of Cheez-Its.
Right. And then a little bread with the meat that's too big for it,
Like in Spinal Tap, exactly. This bread's too small.
Exactly. Oh, that's
so
funny.
I love Aerosmith, and so I just I knew that you had worked with Joe Perry before, so I was always interested to find out exactly what his character was like. And
and he had these special brown blunts that he smoked. They smelled pretty good. Mm-hmm. I don't know what was in them, but I know that the sound man, after, because he'd smoke them while we were playing, he picked one up and he's like, "What should I do with it?" I'm like, "Well, you could smoke it and see what happens, or you could frame it, or you could clone it." So maybe he cloned it.
I would have framed it. I think I would have framed it if that was Joe Perry's blunt. Yeah. What musicians have you played with through the years of like your Joe Perry or Michael Anthony stature that you just gelled with?
Both of them. Joe Perry, Michael Anthony, playing with Steve Vai was great. I mean, I didn't play guitar, I just sang, so that was fun. Orianthi was really cool. Paul Stanley. But let me see, gel-wise, also like Vinny Appice, Black Sabbath drummer. Love jamming with him, just awesome. Tony Franklin, Rudy Sarzo, just people that are really in the pocket. Pretty much all the counselors at Fantasy Camp, man.
I just didn't know if anybody came in there. Well, I didn't know if anybody came in there with an attitude. Like if they're like, I'm just doing this to make a couple of bucks.
Yes. And I don't want to mention their names, but every once in a while there's a prick, and you're just like, come on, man. Not really the special guests, more the counselors, because it's not like there's a manual. And you all come in there and you got to feel the vibe. And, we're all, in my opinion, people are equal. It doesn't matter what you do, because I've mopped floors, I've flipped burgers, and hopefully I don't have to do it again. But if I do, hey, I gotta. So I never judge people like that. But yeah, every once in a while someone comes in and they're just a little too pompous for the moment. Yeah, and that happened one time, and they actually stopped the song because we were supposed to split vocals on a song. I think it was a Chicago song. And he wasn't handling it. He couldn't sing it. And the musical director stopped it and said, "You know what? Just let Jason sing the whole thing." And that didn't go over too well. That was that was like the counselor jam morning of day one. So
well, and if you're organizing the thing, you don't want to have somebody like that coming in there and bringing that kind of negative attitude, especially these guys are spending $4,000 or $5,000, if not more,
absolutely,
to invest this time and live their dream.
Right. That's exactly right. But it's it's a really, like I said, it's a wonderful thing. A lot of people are also working through something. It's kind of therapy, or they're going through a life change, or someone they love passed away, or they just regret the fact that they put their bass in the closet 15 years ago.
That's so cool. What crazy things have fans done to try to meet a rock star in your experience? We've read about them. We've seen the documentaries. In your experience, what happened where you went, I cannot believe this person is trying so hard to get a chance to do blank?
That's a good question.
And not necessarily to you. I'm just saying you were around and saw this going on.
I mean, everybody gets hit with the bras and panties from time to time, I suppose. But
constantly. I have that happen routinely at gigs. They're usually from Big Lots.
Right, they're from Big Lots. They're the parachute kind. In fact, didn't the Coyote use them to go off the edge?
They're Acme panties.
They're Acme.
They're not nothing to do with Victoria's Secret. But no, bras and panties being thrown on stage, obviously. But I mean, someone trying to falsify like a backstage pass and get back here, or somebody was.
I knew people that like. It was the MTV Music Awards or something at Universal Studios Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I was kind of involved in this. and we didn't have passes. So someone took a picture of a pass. And then one person went home and scanned it and printed while the other person went for the actual beaded lanyards. And we had a whole ring, like 20 of us freaking were walking around there like we belonged there. And our passes were like 2 inches bigger than the other ones because we didn't have the scale. but it worked. So I'm trying to. I know it's not as dirty as you want it, but that got everybody in to see the whole thing.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. And listen, we all know the stories.
Yeah.
You read any rock documentary, or watch any rock documentary, or read any rock bio, and you'll get all the dirty stories that you can possibly get your hands on. So
yes, you will.
Now you keep as busy as any musician here in town. You've got a couple bands, Jet Velocity and Ecotonic. Now Ecotonic is your original song band.
Correct. Yeah, we've had Ecotonic probably since 2008 or so, and it's depending on what Slade was doing. Like, he was out of commission for 5 years with AC/DC, and so we.
Slade is Chris Slade.
Yes.
Who is your drummer who took over for Phil Rudd in AC/DC. So when he's not touring with AC/DC, he's working with you. Correct.
Right now he's landlocked in England, which kind of had me concerned because it was Kent, where there was some kind of new strain that hit there a month ago, So We're a little bit detached. But the cool thing is I have 6 or 7 songs that we were working on before he went back with AC/DC on the last leg, and I'm mixing them now because I have a studio here called Ebsworthy Sound. So I'm mixing that stuff. I'm working on, new music, and I'm really excited about the record. We might call the band Swagger Mouth. I'm thinking we might need to change the name. So just because that name's been cycling around for a while, and I got a big mouth, so.
Now, Jet Velocity is your cover band.
Correct. Yeah, that's an all-star band that we play around town with. Janae and I head it up, and then our drummers over the years have been Scott Coogan from Ace Frehley, Les Warner from The Cult. On bass, we usually have Barry Barnes, or I think we're going to be jamming with Ashley Reeve from Cher, and guitar-wise, Jeff Young from Megadeth for a while. So it depends on who's available based on their tour. And we do corporate events, and we'll play at Hard Rock on the Strip a lot, and things like that. So that's a fun thing.
The studios that you have now that you're recording some of these new songs in, did you have the studio before, or did you put this together during the pandemic?
I had it before. I've been building the studio since I was 12. And I mean that sincerely. At that time, I think it was, cassette to cassette.
Right.
God,
you're making us sound old.
Well, I saw the cassette tape. I was really young, but I saw the cassette tape. But I've definitely improved it and streamlined it. So now we do a show every Friday here on Facebook called Sign of the Times. And then we basically talk about the past and present to not repeat mistakes in the future. That's the concept. And we play music and tell stories and, about Janae's time with Joe Cocker or whatever, And but I have now 3 cameras going for that, multiple microphones placed around, lighting, and I've really dialed things in to where, it's kind of a production studio as well as a recording studio.
Now, is it on your Facebook page, or where can people log in to see that on Fridays?
Yeah.
It's Fridays at 5 o'clock Pacific time.
Correct. Yeah, Jason Ebbs, JASONEBS. Okay. My I guess personal. I have an Ecotonic one. I have a Jet Velocity one. I can't do it all, so I just operate mine.
No, you go to your website, they'll find you. JasonEbbs.com, JASONEBS.com. You can find all this stuff. What musicians are on your cell phone right now that you could call up and go, hey, let's get a beer?
Michael Anthony, but it'd probably be Jack instead. Gary Hoey. I mean, they're all spread around the country, so it'd have to be a virtual beer at this point. Vinny, Appice, I'm not sure. Tony doesn't really drink, Tony Franklin, but
From the Puddle of Mud.
The Puddle of Mud?
Yeah.
Janae always says the Puddle of Mud.
She likes the Puddle of Mud?
The Puddle of Mud, yeah.
I'm cracking up. This voice in the background, which is your wife, is sound like the studio's haunted.
You know what? She's my Robin. She's
because she's not on camera, which is hilarious.
I know, which is a waste. I mean, why are you looking at me? You should be looking at her.
She's like your teleprompter.
Yeah, she is.
Now she had worked with Joe Cocker.
Yes, she grew up in Santa Barbara, so she was a teenager, and she went to a lot of music parties at the Never Ranch. What's it called?
Mother Lode
Ranch. Kenny Loggins and Jimmy Messina had a ranch. And there used to be all these jams there. So she started off doing that, and by way of that, hooked up with Joe Cocker, and so yeah, she's had quite the singing career herself.
What have you not done that you want to do right now? Obviously, like I said, the pandemic has stopped everything, and you and I were talking before we even started recording this thing.
Right.
And
I've never toured the world. I've never toured the world. I've done North America, but I've never toured the world, and I've never played stadiums. Those are two things I'd like to do.
I think you'd be huge in like Thailand and Chile.
Chile?
Yeah, those are your two markets for you, I think.
Okay. Well, you want to be my manager?
When I yeah.
You can booking gigs right now? You can book a gig in Chile.
You want to see my calendar? Let me show you. There's my calendar right now, too.
Let's put together our imaginary show that we'll all do together and plan it all out, see if it manifests.
Yeah. That's funny.
This pandemic clears up, then we've got our plan. You come. We'll all go on the road together.
Yeah.
Let's do it. This will be a horrible idea. Let's
Why?
Oh,
I love that. No, I love that phrase. I think I saw it written on a T-shirt. It's like, that's a horrible idea. Where do we meet?
Yeah. It's a good one. That's a good way to put it.
I love that. Jason Ebbs, you are fantastic, my friend. Always great to see you. Always appreciated you and your wife, and you always bring friends out to come and see shows that I'm doing. And again, I can't thank you enough for all your support through the years, and I wish you guys nothing but success. I know that these rock and roll fantasy camps, this movie, where can people see RockCamp? Is it on?
You know what? There's a link. What is it called? Not Eventbrite. I should know this. Can I send you a link and you include it in the show at the end or something like that?
We'll go ahead and.
I sent you a trailer, and I think the trailer has it in there. I think it's going to be on all the streaming platforms, but it was released.
I think it was on Hulu.
Yeah, they did a pre-release, and I just click on the link and it take me there. But you know what? You want to see an inspirational thing. It really will give you an insight into what David created. And, it's something I'm really happy to be involved with. I'm honored because a lot of people I'm doing it with were people I grew up as my musical influences, and now they're my peers, and it's really cool. But it changes lives. There's a guy on there that has his son was autistic. There's another guy that missed his shot playing with Lenny Kravitz, and now he gets to have that feeling. And just it's a must see, put it that way. And it's got like a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is hard to do, man.
Yeah, because people are douchebags. They are. People are douchebags. People want to shred any kind of.
I know, man.
Because they're bored and they have nothing going on. It's like whenever somebody gives a crappy review on something, I go to their profile, and then you see like they also reviewed like a few bad cat feeders, and I'm like, I have no interest in it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Opinions are like assholes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you're dead to me. I mean, that's. What's so cool is that these rock and roll fantasy camps, like you said, it really provides such an amazing outlet for people. And like you said, people that, didn't get the chance to pursue a music career, or somebody who's just looking to just, go through their, I don't want to say midlife crisis, but they go, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. I've always been a huge rock and roll fan.
Yeah.
Let's make this happen.
And that's what makes it so special. And you know what? And some of them actually I'm following through, and I do songwriting sessions with them, or I'm giving somebody bass lessons or on Skype, and it's really good. And for me, it's fun because I have the time. I normally wouldn't really, but right now I do. So I can watch them improve, and they're all psyched, getting ready for the next camp. And they're going to be 3 times the player they were before,
So people can hit you up on your website and go ahead and connect with you about these Skype sessions about songwriting, singing, guitar playing, bass playing, whatever. Okay.
So message me on Facebook or email. If you go to my website, there's an email there, and you can contact me that way.
JasonEbbs.com is his website. You are not only a brilliant musician. I've seen you a ton of times play. You're also, what I think even better, is an amazing human. So I can't thank you enough, my friend.
Same to you, man. I love you, buddy.
You're awesome, man. Thanks again, pal. Good luck with everything.
Listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.